So this presentation is for about 40 to 45 minutes. So my focus of presentation is on optimization. Initially starting with some fundamentals of optimization, and then we are moving towards the complexity of optimization. Then let me share some of my thoughts on meta heuristics for solving optimization problems. Maybe this is an introductory lecture only. It is not a very detailed one. So hope will be informative those who are participating in this webinar. So once again, I'll thank Dr. Tara for giving an opportunity to present in this IEEE local chapter of Hyderabad. So now let me discuss on challenges in optimization. There are many challenges. So generally, design of many engineering systems, when we say it is very complex. So complex in the sense, even individual components designing itself, it needs lots of time and involves much effort. And so when we say a system is concerned, it is really tough to get a solution to the problem. And usually assumptions would be made to develop realistic models. So this is also very important since we have methods. So what generally we do is we are making some assumptions. So most of the nonlinear problems, what we do is converting into linear problems. Since the techniques are available, we are utilizing it and getting the solution to the problem. So generally, whenever we solve a problem, we are looking in for exact problem, approximate solution. That is one of the approach. The other approach will be approximate problem, exact solution. So the two ways by which generally people will be looking for solving any type of problem. So usually mathematical models, whenever we develop, so when it is an analytical model, that will be fine. So it is derived from fundamental natural principles. So that will be applicable everywhere we can use it. But whenever we derive mathematical models out of physical systems, so we are making lots of assumptions. So that's where lots of issues are there in getting the solution. So we have to go for validation, etc. And nowadays, again, challenge is from the point of view of customer also. The customer or user requirements are different. Earlier days, it was not like that. Whatever the manufacturers will do, the customers were ready to buy. There is no question at all. So now it is not like that. If not A, the customer can go for the manufacturer B. So that type of situation that is there now. So customer and user requirements are totally different, and they want what they are looking for. So that sort of situation it is there now. And again, whenever we want to solve an optimization problem, there is no single approach to solve the problem. There are multiple approaches. So again, which approach we have to use? So that's again a challenging. So people have developed so many algorithms. So these algorithms, different problems, it will be behaving differently. So for a typical problem, so what type of approach we have to use? Again, optimization, when we look into it, there are plenty of algorithms in the literature. So people are confused which one we have to use it. So there again, choosing an algorithm itself, it's a tedious one. Then again, models, whatever it is being developed, it has to be verified by experiments. Then only the validity of the solutions, whatever we have received by many of the methods. So experimentation also it is required to validate the solutions. And again, economic considerations play an important role. The problem may be an solution may be an optimum one. Whether really is it possible to implement it? So that is again, one has to look into it, economic point of view. Whatever the solution we give for a customer or a user, so it should be cost effective. That is also very important. So quality, there is no compromise at all nowadays. So whatever we produce, it should be a quality component. So without quality is not a factor at all nowadays. Everyone has to produce a quality component or a quality design. So that should be there. And again, challenge from people also. So earlier, the different sections of an industry, for example, when we are making a product, it's a compartmentalized. That is, a design department is separate, manufacturing is separate, and the planning was separate, marketing was separate, like that. So now it is not like that. So whatever we do design, we have to integrate people from different domains. So then only the product has to be developed. So integrating people, so getting concurrence from everyone. So that also involves a real challenge with respect to optimization point of view. So these are all some of the challenges one has to face. So while going for an optimization. So whenever we are developing a product or it may be developing a system. Then what is optimization? So optimization generally is a tool in making decisions and analyzing the physical systems. So lots of tools are available nowadays. So for a decision maker, so optimization is also one of the important tools. So we can able to make a decision. So whatever day-to-day decision or a long-term decision or problem-specific decisions, whatever it is, so we can use optimization as a tool for making decisions. So that is one such definition. Then optimization is a process of finding best solution among set of feasible solutions. Again, solutions are many, so we have to choose a solution. So there will be lots of constraints also in selecting a particular solution. So among feasible solution, among constraints, whatever that is there, so we have to select the best solution that is giving a unique solution for your problem. So the definition is given by S.S. Rao is optimization is a process of finding best solution among the set of all feasible solutions. There are many feasible solutions. From that, we have to find out best solution. So it's a linear problem, that will be fine. We'll be going to come across that. If it's a non-linear problem, when your mathematical model of your physical problem, if it's a non-linear, then real challenge it comes there. There are so many local optimas. So from the local optimas, you have to choose a global optimum solution. So some of the complex function, when you look into it, so thousands local optimum solutions will be there. So from there, we are supposed to find a global optimum solution. And scientists and engineers develop many methods to find optimal solutions for a variety of real world problems. This again, it's an issue and as well as advantage. So advantage in the sense we have many methods, we can use it and find the solution. Then again, since there are many methods, which method we have to use? So that's again a question. So this is what a basic introduction to optimization point of view. So generally in optimization procedure point of view, so when you are going for solving an optimization problem, so whatever it is given in this slide, we are supposed to follow. So first of all, need should be there for optimization. And the design variables, we have to identify very clearly. So the design variable only we have to find out. So these design variables, it has to be satisfy the constraints, and as well as these design variables, it has to give a minimum or maximum function of an objective function, what we are considering with respect to our problem. And the formulations of constraints we have to do, again, constraint formulation also. So physically, when we say a problem, that will be fine. But the same thing, if you are writing into a mathematical model, so that is a real challenge in optimization point of view. And we have to formulate the objective function. Optimization, this formulating the objective function easily we can do. The challenge really it is in formulating the constraints. So real world constraints that we have to take into consideration. And with respect to the objective, we have to formulate the constraints. And variable bounds, again, the feasibility, we have to look into it. So for example, if you are designing a shaft, for example, so you cannot design something like a shaft will be having a 500 mm for a simple centrifugal pump or something like that. So there should be always a design bound should be there for each and every variable. So what will be the lower limit and what will be the upper limit? That is again based on the availability. So based on the economic consideration, based on the design considerations, we have to do the variable bounds. And we have to choose an optimization algorithm. And by using that algorithm, we have to solve the problem and we have to obtain the solution. So this will be the typical procedure that generally it is used in optimization point of view. So again, optimization, it is not a single step process. So just we input and we are getting the output in a next step like that. So generally it is an iterative process. When you're looking for internal loops here, every stage has some backward flow. So we have to iterate and we have to compare the solution. We should have an initial solution. So like that, iteratively, we should be able to find the solution to the problem. So this is the typical procedure that we have to follow. So when we are going for optimization. Then optimal problem formulation, this is what I told you. So you can very well describe the problem descriptively. That is not an issue at all. But in optimization point of view, so what is very important is the problem, it has to be translated into a mathematical statement. So there is the challenge here. So how to describe the problem into mathematical form? So if you are able to do that, then there is nothing in optimization. So your 90% of the effort, so that is already done by formulating your problem into a standard optimization model. So generally what difficulty we are facing is descriptive problem. Everybody knows when you go to an industry, for example, when you study a particular product or something like that. So people will say hundreds of issues in that. But how to formulate it to solve as an optimization problem? So there only the experience and skill of a designer that is more important. So translating a descriptive problem or a physical problem into a mathematical model. So that is called as a problem formulation. And again, other things as we have discussed in the previous slide. So we have to identify the design variables or decision variables and optimization criteria. So criteria in the sense what you have to minimize or maximize, whether you have to minimize the cost or maximize the profit, minimize the weight or minimize the time or maximizing the strength. So many criterions that you have depends upon the product and depends upon the system. So based on that, we have to define the optimization criteria for the problem and constraints. And again, even if you mathematically define it, so it has to be converted into a standard model for optimization, because just like that, if you have a model, it is not possible to solve it because different solvers they use different type of formats. So different type of formats, in that format we have to input the problem, then only we'll be able to get the solution. Even if you are doing a programming also, so in the standard programming standard model, the problem has to be converted. So then only we can able to get the solution to the problem. So for example, if it is a linear programming problem, so there will be a standard format. Non-linear, again, there are different methods. It may be a quadratic problem or a highly nonlinear problem. Again, nonlinear, what will be the order of your equation? So control type of problems, combinatorial type of problems, like there's so many different type of problems that are existing. So based on the type of problem, if you are able to convert it, then we can able to use an appropriate method for getting the solution to the problem. So nowadays, getting the solution, it is very simple. If you are good at programming, so we know the algorithms, we can able to write as a code and we can able to get a solution. Or many of the packages like MATLAB, Scilab, these type of packages or Python or whatever it is, they have the functions. So different solvers are available as a functions. So we can call the functions, give the input, and we can able to get the solutions. So only thing, the expertise, what is required is whatever the solution that you are getting, whether it is feasible or correct one, convergence is proper or not, whether it is really optimal or it is a near optimal. So these type of decisions, when we know the subject knowledge or background of optimization, then only we can able to do that. Simply just by using the algorithm, it is not possible to take the solution for decision making or something like that. So the background of the problem knowledge is also required, and formulation skills are required, and use of softwares. So also the coding skills, that is also important for a person who want to pursue his career in optimization. So these skills, I feel it is very, very important. So this will be a typical standard optimization model, what I have given. So there should be a function. So we have to minimize that function. So as I have mentioned, it can be minimizing the weight of a cantilever beam. So that may be a typical function, or maximizing the profit of an industry, or maximizing strength of the product. So like that, your objective functions can be. So your objective function can be minimization one or maximization one, because minimization and maximization is almost similar. It is not much different. So by taking the inverse of the function or multiplying the minimization problem by -1, then you will be getting the maximization problem. Then the solution will remain the same when we are converting into minimization into maximization. And again, challenges here in optimization is concerned. The constraints, whatever you are formulating, there will be different type of constraints will be there. So one is called as inequality constraints. So if you write the constraints in the form of less than or equal to sign or greater than equal to sign, so then we can say it is an inequality constraints. And there are some equality constraints also. Exactly, suppose I want to design a can, it has to hold exactly some 400 ml of liquid or something like that. If I if I have a constraint, so then it will be an equality constraint. Or the can hold to a maximum volume of some 500 ml. So like that, if you have, then it is a less than or equal to or greater than equal to inequality constraints. We can able to define it. So equality constraints and inequality constraints are two different type of constraints. So that will be there in the problem. It may be or may not be. It is not necessary always you should have this type of constraints in your optimization problem. Even if you have a objective function, and objective function will have the variables inside, that variables, if you have the design bounds, so that itself we can say an optimization model. But the complexity that is increasing, so when you have inequality constraints and as well as equality constraints. Again, complexity that is increasing when the number of variables are increasing, and this equality in inequality constraints, if it is linear, it will be fine. Easily we can able to get the solution. If it is non-linear, again, the complexity of the problem that will be increasing. Objective function also, again, if it is a linear, it is okay. Easily we can able to get a solution. Again, it is non-linear, so getting the solution, it is going to be tough. So again, non-linear, again, there are lots of complexities like what type of non-linearity it is, what is the order of equation. So all these things comes into picture. So this will be the typical design optimization model. So in this model, we supposed to convert our problem. So then we can use the algorithm for getting the solution to the problem. So this is what I told you, a minimization and maximization treatment of a problem. So generally two types of problems generally people used to tell. One is a concave type of problem and a convex type of problem. So this concave and convex are unimodal problems. Unimodal is only one peak and only one valley that will be having. Even some textbook, if you refer the title of the book itself, concave optimization or convex optimization, like that. So when you have only one mode or a peak or valley, so then we can define that problem is a concave and convex problem. And why I am telling this one is whenever we have a minimization or maximization, so most of the algorithms or solvers that is there in the literature are focusing on minimization type of problems. Suppose your problem is maximization, it is not a big issue. Just by multiplying the function by -1, you can able to convert into a minimization or maximization or vice versa. So that is what it is shown here. X star is the solution to a concave problem. Suppose if you convert the problem by multiplying by -1, it will become a convex problem. And for that convex problem, the solution will be lying on the same line. X star will be lying in the same line. So the minimization or maximization in optimization point of view, so there will not be any issue at all. So again, the constraints, some of the algorithms, they deal with greater than equal to type and less than or equal to type. And again, converting into the standard format that is required by the algorithm, so there will not be any issue. Again, multiplying by the constraint by -1, then you can able to convert into the greater than equal to sign into less than or equal to, or the vice versa. So converting a problem into minimization or maximization and sign conversion greater than equal to less than or equal to for constraints, so there is not an issue. Only depends upon the algorithm. So we have to convert it and we have to input it. But now the latest software packages, it is having very good front end. So you can directly type the equations. So it depends upon the input what you are giving. So it will be converting it. But if you are writing a program, solvers generally, so you have to look in for whether the solver is solving minimization type of problem or maximization problem. So minimization and maximization is not a problem, and sign also it is not an issue. So easily we can able to convert into either way. Some of the important observations in the standard optimization model I have given here. So whenever we define a design variable or identify a design variable, we have to make sure that the design variables will have an influence on your objective function and as well as constraints. If doesn't have, then it is not an optimization problem at all. If design variables are not related to your objective function, then finding the solution, there is no use at all. So we have to make sure that we are formulating the problem in such a way that the design variables have a correlation with objective functions and as well as your constraints. And another important thing in optimization problem is the Q should be less than or equal to N. That is number of equality constraints in a problem. If there are some constraints are there, equality and inequality constraints are there, So the number of equality constraints, again, it's a problem in solving an optimization problem. So if number of inequality constraints and the number of design variables it has to satisfy, so q less than or equal to n. So then only you'll be able to solve the problem. Otherwise, it is not possible to solve the problem. So this is something very we all studied in basic mathematics. The concept, whatever I told you now. And the number of inequality constraints, there is no issues, there is no restrictions on finding the solution to the problem. We can have any number of inequality constraints in your problem, and we can able to get the solution. But only thing, number of design variables or number of inequality constraints are increasing, then complexity will be increasing. It will take more time for getting the solution to the problem. Then unconstrained and constrained problem, this again we have discussed in our earlier discussion. So unconstrained means there is no constraints at all in the problem. There is no constraints in the sense there will be some constraints, that is the bound constraints will be there. For example, design variables are there, x1, x2, xn. So this x1 to xn will, every variable should have an lower bound, upper bound. Otherwise, very difficult to solve the problem. That we can say a constraint in an unconstrained optimization problem. And constrained optimization problem, so you should have an objective, and the problem will be subjected to either an equality constraints or an inequality constraints, or both, and as well as your bound constraints. So all these things, if it is there, then we can say it is a constrained optimization problem. Why this classification is, there are algorithms dedicatedly developed for unconstrained algorithms. There are some algorithms developed dedicatedly for constrained problems, because same algorithm if used for both, the complexity of unconstrained may be lesser, so that not unnecessarily taxing the algorithm. So for that reason only, algorithms also developed separately for unconstrained problem and separately for constrained problems. So if we have a classification like this, so whenever there is an unconstrained problem, we can go for unconstrained algorithm, which one we have to use, that decision easily we can make it. So that is one of the things. Then again, problems will be two categories, linear problem and non-linear programming problem. And again, linear problems are different, non-linear problems are different. So both the different algorithms people are using. And scaling of problem functions. So scaling of problems function in the sense, the property of the problem that will not change by multiplying by any scalar values. For example, an objective function is there, you can multiply the objective function by 5, so that we can able to increase or decrease the problem space, but solution will be the same. So the scaling of functions also generally we used to do in optimization point of view. So when we are solving the problem, so sometimes we have to go for scaling. It may be a scale up or scale down, depends upon the requirement we'll be going. So these are all some of the important observations with respect to optimization model. Then this is a very simple one. I think all of you know about it. When the problem is a linear one, so the feasible region we can able to find out very easily, and finding the optimal solution, that is a very, very simple in the case of linear problem. So as we know, when we apply a simplex method or any other approach for getting the solution for a linear problem, the corner points will be the likely solution to the problem. So any one of the corner point, if it's a minimization or a maximization problem, so it depends upon the function value. So we can able to get the solution optimal value to the problem. So the complexity of linear programming problem, it is very simple in the sense you are not evaluating the entire feasible region, all the points inside the feasible region. So we are finding out only the corner points. For example, this particular problem is concerned, there are 2 constraints and there will be 1, 2, 3, 4 solutions are there. So we have to evaluate only these 4 points. So from that we can able to find out a minimum or maximum value for a linear programming problem. At the same time, when you're looking for a non-linear type of problem, again I have taken this slide from S.S. Rao. You can see the constraints are non-linear. Non-linear in the sense you are not getting a straight line. So you are getting a curve there for all the constraints. So the bound region you can able to see inside, that will be the feasible region. And your solution is not the corner points. Your likely solution is not on the corner points. It may be anywhere in the region, depends upon your constraint. It may be in the constraint surface, or it may be inside the feasible region, depends upon your constraints it will be. So what I want to say is, so we have to evaluate many number of points, so before deciding whether the point is an optimal or not. So optimization is not easy for a linear problem. So there will be hundreds and thousands of points. Iteratively, we have to evaluate, and then we have to go for a optimal solution for the problem. So that's why a nonlinear problem, it is very, very difficult to get the solution. So linear programming problem, it is not like that. One can able to find the solution with much ease. And again, so this concept of local optima and global optima, that is very, very important. A nonlinear problem, yeah, for example, this is a single variable problem, only one decision variable that is having in your problem. So when the nonlinear problem, if we plot x versus, for example, f of x, you may get a plot like that. Suppose if you want to find a minimum solution for the problem, so there will be so many values are there. It is called as a local minimas. So local minimas are not the global optimum solution. So you'll be having so many local minimas in your problem, in a nonlinear problem. So when you want to find a global minimum for your problem, so we have to evaluate all the local minimas, then we have to find the global minimum solution. So that's why the complexity, it will be very, very high. So in the case of nonlinear problems. And again, if you are maximizing also, there will be so many peaks. So one of the peak which is having maximum function value, so that will be the global maximum value. Again, peaks are concerned for a real world problem. There will be so many peaks and so many valleys. So finding a global minimum or global maximum for some of the complex problems, so it will be very, very difficult. So the main motivation behind this meta heuristics is, so meta heuristics will come to that, are not going to give your optimal solution. So meta heuristics are designed to find near optimal or optimal solutions. So even then, if you are able to find for some of the complex problems a near optimal solution, so that will be a good quality solutions for the problem. So that will be the motivation for going for people are going for meta heuristic type of approach for getting the solution to the problem, because of the so many local minimas and maximas and complexity in solving the problem. This is one typical example for a function. You can see when a problem domain with a short range of variable range. So when you plot it, you can able to get so many peaks and valleys. So again, the problem is whenever you apply some traditional techniques, for example, if you are using a gradient based method, for example, so if you depends upon the start point, all we know that Newton's method, for example, if you use it, depends upon the start point, it will be converging to a local optima. So it won't give a global optimum solution. For example, if you write a Newton's method as an algorithm, for example, for an optimization problem, so always you have to give an input as a start point we have to give. So depends upon the start point only, you'll be getting a solution. So that solution, it is not an optimal solution. Sorry, it's not a global optimal solution. It will be a local optimal solution only you'll be getting. By luck, if you are choosing the domain in such a way that that particular peak or valley, so that belongs to a global optimum solution, by chance only you'll be able to get the global optimum solution for your problem. So this is one of the motivation going for meta heuristics for solving optimization problems. So now let us discuss briefly about the complexity of the algorithms. Any solution of an algorithm which can be solvable in a polynomial time or non-polynomial time. If you are able to get a solution in a polynomial time, for example, if I use an algorithm, if my algorithm gives the solution, for example, say in 2 minutes or some 100 iterations or some 1500 function evaluations, then you are getting the solution in a polynomial time. So non-polynomial time in the sense, we are not knowing when you will be able to get the solution to the problem. So then if it is like that, then it is a very complex problem to solve it. So again, the complexity of the problems are concerned. There are different types of complexities. One is P class, NP class, and NP hard, and NP complete. Briefly, let us see. We are not going in detail. Briefly, let us look into this type of problems. Maybe some of you are expert in this area. I don't want to elaborate much on this. A typical P class problem, a problem which can be solved on a polynomial time, is known as a P class problem. So all sorting type of algorithms, searching algorithms comes under this category. So it's a P class type of problem. Easily we can able to get the solution to the problem. For example, if you want to short some 100 numbers, so it is possible to get the solution in a short time. Easily we can able to do that. Again, searching algorithms also comes into the class. So this NP class problem, so this a problem which cannot be solved on polynomial time, but it is verified in polynomial time. It's a non-deterministic polynomial. That is the full form of NP or NP class problem. That is, it can be solved on polynomial time, this NP class type of problem, but it is verified in a polynomial time. So that is what typical complexity of NP class type of problem, but verification it is possible in a typical NP class type of problems. So most of the problems comes under scheduling, traveling salesman. So these problems are coming in NP class type of problem. Even some literature say it is NP hard type of problem, but most of the scheduling problems, for example, flow shop, these type of problems comes under NP class. But when we say a job shop type of problem, the complexity is slightly higher. So people used to classify hard type of NP class problems. But P class problems are the problem can be solvable on polynomial time, which cannot be solvable on polynomial time. But the solution what you get, you can able to verify in a polynomial time. So that type of problems are called NP class problem. But comparatively, P and NP, so NP is harder to solve. So P is easy to solve. And again, NP class problems, it is verified in a polynomial time. It's verified also in polynomial time. So NP class is hard to solve and easy to verify in exponential time, but P class easy to solve and easy to verify in polynomial time. So P is a subset of NP. So because the complexity is less, so NP, the complexity is slightly more. So it is tractable. P class problems are tractable, and these NP class problems are intractable. That is intractable in the sense difficult to get the solution to the problem. And there is a concept in optimization, people are going for reduction. So what is the reduction is, when we have A and B, two types of problems, so A can be reduced into P if there is a way to solve by deterministic algorithms in a polynomial time. So generally, if A, for example, if it's a complex problem, so what generally we do is, the problem can be reduced in a polynomial time, then you can able to solve that problem by using deterministic algorithms. So that concept is called as a reduction. So reduction generally people use when the complex problems are there. For example, nonlinear problems, people used to linearize it and get the solution to the problem. So that way, the reduction methods, that will be useful. Then only some of the problems we will be able to get. Otherwise, some of the very complex problems, it is not possible to get the solutions. And NP hard problem is really a very hard problem. And if every problem in NP can be polynomial reduced to it, for example, you can see NP problem, so that can be reduced in polynomial time to some other domain. That is, by using some algorithms, you'll be able to get the solution to the problem. So then it is an NP hard problem. So compared to the earlier one, that is NP problem. So NP hard problems are really hard, but you should be able to convert this NP hard problem into your NP class problem. And if you are able to get a solution, then we can say it is an NP hard problem. So again, lots of challenges are there in solving the problem. And reduction also, we have to see that it should be done in a polynomial time. It is taking a longer time, for example, then if it is not possible to convert into an NP problem, so then we cannot classify that problem into an NP hard one. And there is one more class I told you, NP complete problem. So again, NP complete problem, still it is an intersection of NP and NP hard problems. So that type of problems are called as NP complete. So then NP complete and NP hard, there is no clear distinction. It is only a subset between NP and as well as NP hard. So NP, if you are able to reduce into NP complete, then we have a solution to the problems. Otherwise, it will be an open-ended problem. It is not possible to get the solution to the problems. Even there are a few classes of problems, we are unable to get the solutions. So only an approximate solutions or intuition-based solutions only we'll be having for such problems. So class of NP complete is the intersection of NP and NP complete class. So when we draw these type of sets, for example, you can able to understand. So there is an intersection between NP and as well as NP hard. So in between that NP complete problems are existing. So generally NP complete problems are decision problems, whether you are able to get a solution to the problem or not. So that is what only people are looking for. But generally NP hard problems are optimization problems. So there only we are applying algorithms and heuristics, and we are able to get the solutions to the problems. So NP complete problems, one of the classifications people have done, studies what they have done is, so NP complete is not an optimization problem. So it is a decision making problem. So you'll be able to make a decision whether you're able to solve it or not. And if you're able to reduce it, then only you can able to get the solution to the problem. But NP hard problems are really hard problems, and it's an optimization problem. So we'll be able to get the solution by using heuristic approach. So most of the meta heuristics, whatever we would like to discuss during this session, so most of them are NP hard only. So for solving this NP hard type of problem only, people are developed or people are motivated to develop this meta heuristic type of algorithms. And again, one more class of problems is called as a combinatorial optimization problem. So again, this is also a very hard problem, NP hard problem. That is, your problem size are increasing, your complexity, it is not increasing linearly. So if it is increasing exponentially, your complexity, when the problem size is increasing, then we can say it is a combinatorial optimization problem. So generally, discrete type of optimization problem, people used to refer the term combinatorial optimization. For example, if it is a job shop problem, for example, n job, n machine problem, so generally complexity will be n factorial to the power m. So when it is n factorial to the power m, if we define the complexity, if for n and m that is increasing, your complexity in solving, it is not linear, so it will be in the order of exponential. So that type of problems are called a combinatorial optimization problem. Again, this combinatorial optimization problem, so meta heuristics are one of the ideal methods to get the approximate or near optimal solutions for the problems. So generally classical optimization methods are existing. So classical optimization methods are used to find only local optimal solutions. I told you about Newton's method. So based on the starting point, so you will be getting the solution to the problem. So that type of methods, it will not converge to global optimum. It will be converging to local optimum only. So the global optimum, so that will not be guaranteed. So when we use methods like Lagrange methods or Kuhn-Tucker condition approaches, so all these methods are used to find some solution to the problem. Most probably these solutions will be a local optimum solutions. Even for global optimum solutions, these methods don't have a convergence proof. So KT conditions, again, necessary conditions are there and sufficiency conditions are there. So only for local optima, we have the convergence proofs. That is necessary and sufficiency conditions. So people are established. But global optimum, so there is no convergence proof that is existing for most of the conventional techniques. So even global optimization techniques also convergence proofs are not existing. But anyhow, the techniques are derived for not finding the global optimum. So these techniques are derived to find a near optimal or suboptimal solutions. So optimization methods point of view, there are two methods generally it is commonly used. One is point-to-point method and other is a population-based method. What is point-to-point method is you have a starting solution and you are getting finally by iteratively you are getting a solution to the problem. Only one solution you will be getting. For example, Newton's method, one method that will be a good example for a point-to-point technique. You give the starting point, you will get the local optima. So that's a point-to-point technique. Again, heuristics also or meta heuristics also, there are some point-to-point techniques like one example I can say simulated annealing, for example. You are starting with one point, so you are doing and you are trying to find a global optimum, but again finally you will be getting only one solution. So that's the point-to-point techniques. And recent developments, the population-based approaches, that is very effective in finding the global optimum or very good quality solutions. You are not initiating your algorithm with single point, you are initiating your algorithm with multiple points. For example, say 100 points you are initiating in your feasible region, 100 points parallelly it will search the solution. So by using some operators, depends upon the algorithm what we are using, and finally you are land up with 100 answers, or among 100 answers, some 4 or 5 initial points, it may converge to one particular solution also. That may be a global optimum that we don't know, or may be a suboptimal, near optimal solutions. So thereby 100 or more number of points will be searching parallelly in your solution space or a feasible space, and then it will be looking for the global optimum or near optimal solutions. So that type of techniques are population based approach. So most of the popular techniques or meta heuristics, whatever we use today, for example, a genetic algorithm, or an ant colony optimization algorithm, or a particle swarm optimization algorithm, all these techniques working based on population based approaches. That is, you are initializing with many initial solutions. Parallelly, you are getting the you are searching the global optimal solution. In the process, you will be landing up with an optimal or near optimal solution. So usually population based approaches are really very good in finding the global optimal solution. So only disadvantage is whenever you do a population based approach, the complexity of the solution complexity, sorry, the complexity in computation, so that will be increasing in like anything. So the computational power that is required for getting the solution, so that will be more. But no other go when the problem is a highly nonlinear one or a combinatorial one, so or a NP-hard type of problems. So we have to go for these type of approaches for getting the solution to the problem. So by going for traditional methods, so you will be landing up with local optimal solution only. But there are some techniques like deterministic techniques like branch and bound. So these type of methods are there. You can ask why we can use that type of methods. We can use that, but when the problem size it is increasing. So for example, a scheduling type of problem, it can work very well. For example, a 6 job or a 7 job type of problem, you can get an optimal solution. At the same time, if it is a 50 job or 20 machine, this type of problems, so when we use a branch and bound type of techniques, so it will take days and days to get the convergence to the problem. So the solution convergence, it is very, very slow, and evaluating all the points heuristically or iteratively, it may take longer time for getting the solution to the problem. So that's why these population-based approaches are very, very popular. So these methods are working. It's not a static type of method it will be working. It is more dynamic, and as well as it is probabilistic also. So probability comes into picture. Probabilistically, it will be finding the solution, or it is searching the solution space. So thereby, they can able to ensure a good quality solution for our problem. So the gradient-based method I told you. So the derivative that plays an important role. So by having the derivative, so when we say a calculus, for example, so when we say the derivative is 0, that means you have reached a minimum or maximum point. So by knowing the derivative information, the gradient-based methods were developed. So it depends upon the algorithm. Some algorithms use double differentiation. Some algorithms use only a single differentiation. So based on that, your methods will be different. And the direct methods, what it means is here is, so direct methods, randomly it will find the solution. So randomly in the sense, so for example, you have a start point, and you iteratively you have to find the point x2. So how to go to that point x2? So that we have to use a method for finding the direction. So that direction, it is not found out by a gradient. So it will be a probabilistic approach or random approach. Generally, it is used for finding the iterative points. So finding the direction, only many of the algorithms, the way in which working, it is different. For example, GA and PSO, when you take into it, how this direction is found out. So there are two different concepts it has been used in both the methods. So that way, the algorithms will be different. So the finding the directions is one of the important thing in optimization algorithms. So based on that only, the different algorithms are differently it will be working in finding the optimal solution to the problem. So what I want to say is there are two basic methods. One is direct method, point-to-point method, and population-based methods. Point-to-point method, one point as initial point, land up with only one point as a solution. And population-based approaches, you are initializing with many points and landing up with many points as a solution to the problem. So that's a population-based approach. GA, PSO, all these things comes into that category. And again, two other categories in these type of problems. One is working based on gradient based methods. The gradient based methods, it will work based on the differential, how you are differentiating the function as a single differentiation or double differentiation, like that. Based on that, the method is defined. And the direct methods, we are not using a continuous function. The function, it may be continuous or discontinuous. So for that type of problems, random search we are doing, the random numbers that plays an important role. So thereby we will be able to get the solution to the problem. So for large scale problems and the problems which are highly discontinuous and discrete, so the gradient based methods are not likely methods for getting the good quality solutions. So there we have to go for a direct methods. So in direct methods, random search we have to do. So then we have to find the solution to the problem. So again, this direct methods, instead of point to point, when we go for a population based approaches, the solution quality is really very good. So most of the meta heuristics are designed in such a way that it is not starting with single point, it is starting with multiple points. Then you are finding the direction, and then you are avoiding the local minima. So you will be finding the global minima. So during the iterative process. So this will be an important slide to you. Generally population based methods or a point to point methods that will be working on this principle only. So you have a start point x1. So only one solution it is represented here. So x1, x2, you want a direction, and from x2 again you have to find a new point. So like that, iteratively you have to find the such directions, and finally you have to find this optimum point xt plus 1. So algorithms are different in such a way that how you are finding this direction efficiently to reach the optimum point in a shorter period of time or shorter number of iterations. So there comes only the algorithms are different, whether it is a point to point or a population based type of algorithms. So that way only most of the optimization algorithms are different. How you are devising your search directions, so thereby, so you will be able to get the optimal solution to the problem. So for example, when we take a quadratic type of problem, so there are theoretical proofs are available. So in 3 search directions, you will be able to get a solution to the problem. There are well-known techniques are available, so for getting the solution to the problem. So for a quadratic, it is okay. More than quadratic type of problem, it is very difficult to get the convergence proof. Up to quadratic, it will be fine. So we will be able to say that there is a guarantee that within these many iterations, by using these algorithms, you will be able to get a solution. But very hard problems, NP hard type of problems, there is no convergence proof. Then we have to go for this meta heuristics by using a random approach. So we want to get the solution to the problems. And heuristics and meta heuristics, so there is lots of confusion. People, what is a heuristics and what is a meta heuristics? Heuristics and meta heuristics are random approaches only, both, but heuristics are designed to a specific problem. So one type of particular class of problems, they can use the heuristics. Mainly heuristics are designed so based on experience. So based on experience, in the sense there will be a rule type of thing that will be used in getting the solution to the problem. But meta heuristics are problem independent methods. It can be applied to wide range of problems. So and also the basic philosophy behind the algorithms, so mainly meta heuristics, so that will be based on some concepts. For example, when we say genetic algorithm, for example, it is based on survival to the fittest. And when we say PSO, for example, particle swarm optimization, for example, so it will be the behavior of birds that is flying in finding the food that has been formulated. So when it is an ant colony algorithm, the behavior of ant movement, that is shortest path, so that will be formulated as a mathematical model. So like that, there are some fundamental philosophies that is motivated to derive these meta-heuristic algorithms. So that's why the meta-heuristic algorithms that can be applied to wide range of problems, and also the quality of solutions also, it will be very good. But only issue is when we apply a meta-heuristics, the problem is the complexity, the computational complexity, that will be more. So that nowadays the computational complexity, that is not a big issue. The earlier days we can say the computation complexity is a very much issue, but the computers are very powerful. So easily we can able to adapt or apply these meta-heuristic techniques for solving even small scale problems also. So even the conventional approach that can be replaced by these type of approaches in getting the solution to the problem. But always we have to make sure that whenever you are developing a mathematical model, if it is an analytical model, for example, that will be the ultimate. There is no other models that is required to get a solution to the problem. If you are unable to go for an analytical model, then these type of mathematical models we have to develop, and this meta-heuristic type of approaches we have to use for getting the solution is concerned. And this is the classification algorithms. So exact algorithms, I told you about dynamic programming, branch and bound type of techniques. So these are all exact algorithms, but these algorithms will find optimal solution. But the problem is a small size of problems only we'll be able to solve it. And heuristics are specific to a particular class of problems. And heuristics are designed to find approximate solutions only. The meta-heuristics people have developed like GA, PSO, like that. It can have a single solution approach or a population-based approach. When it is a single solution approach, there are some approaches like simulated tunneling, taboo search. So these algorithms popularly that is used. And population-based solutions, generally what we use is evolutionary algorithms like genetic algorithms and swarm search like particle swarms. These algorithms are very popular in literature. Even though these algorithms, GA, PSO, it is developed, GA it is developed in 1980s and has applied to variety of problems in 1990s onwards, but still it is very, very popular in solving optimization problems. Again, PSO also, it has developed in 1990s, but still equally GA and PSO, it has been used in variety of problems. Since it's a meta-heuristics, we cannot say that GA can be used for all type of problems or PSO can be used for all type of problems. So all these meta-heuristics are problem specific. Some problems it will be working very well, GA can work very well. Some solutions PSO will work very well. So like that, but there is no standardized procedure or something. So these type of problems you have to use this technique like that. So always there is a debate there. So people are confused with which type of algorithms we have to use for solving their problems. But again, people used to compare GA, they'll get a solution. PSO also, they will solve a problem and get the solution. And they will take the best solution given by a particular algorithm. So like that only people are going for solving the problems. So this is a class of meta-heuristics. You can able to see there are so many meta-heuristic algorithms that are existing in the literature. But among this, I can say that the swarm intelligence and as well as evolutionary techniques, these two are very popular. So for example, this particle swarm optimization and genetic algorithms, there are so many algorithms, this artificial bee algorithm, firefly algorithm, cuckoo search, all these things, same concepts only a small variation of the concept, but basically the working will be the swarm intelligence algorithms only, that is developed by Eberhardt. The same principles only people are using. Again, GA is concerned, this evolutionary algorithm is concerned, so that is again based on John Holland, whatever he has developed. So based on that only all these algorithms are working. Small modifications people have done and they have named as different type of algorithms. But GA and particle swarm, still they are the powerful algorithms, powerful meta-heuristics I can say, to get any type of solutions. It may be a discrete type of problem or a continuous type of problems. Both the type of problems we can use it, and people have found out good quality solutions for the problem. And simulated learning is another problem, another type of point-to-point approach. This is also a meta-heuristic. It is derived from natural principles of annealing. That is, annealing we know in metallurgy. So whenever we heat a material, we will get a liquid metal and we are pouring into a mold, it gets solidified and we are getting the product. When it is getting solidified, there is a process called a cooling rate. So when the cooling rate is different, what happens is your quality of the product, what you are getting also different. So by varying the cooling rate suitably, then we can able to get a good product. So good product is something like good solution. So that has been simulated in this algorithm as a simulated learning algorithm. So this algorithm, even though it starts with a single point, what it will do is it will do the local search very effectively. Thereby, in the neighborhood, is there any good quality solution? It will find out and it will report the solution to the problem. So iteratively, we can able to get the solution. So that is called as a simulated learning algorithm. And this GA is a genetic algorithm, the survival to the fittest. There are processes like a crossover, mutation, selection, these type of operators, like a natural genetic processes that has been implemented. And this is giving a very good solution, no need of explaining. People might have experienced this type of algorithms used in their work, but still these algorithms are very, very popular. A popular meta heuristic that is being used for solving the problem. Again, when we go for a genetic algorithm or simulated learning or particle swarm, so now the multi-objective optimization techniques also people have developed. So that is becoming popular now. So people are looking for, instead of single objective, so people are looking for a multi-objective and getting the solution to the problem. So because why we are doing the single objective means, so it is easy to formulate into a mathematical model. That's why people have thought of single objective. We have made some assumptions, converted the problem into a single objective, and then we have solved the problem. But all real world problems are multi-objective. So the people who are working in this heuristic area then think of developing multi-objective heuristics based on GA or PSO or simulated annealing, and we can able to improve the solution, existing solutions. So that way we can think of working further. Again, ant colony also, that is derived from the behavior of ants. So when we put an obstacle in between the ant path, so when we notice it very carefully, so after some time, all the ants will follow in the shortest route. So some mechanism that is being followed, the ant behavior, so that is being modeled as a ant colony optimization algorithm. So for shortest type of path type of problems, ant colony algorithms are very effectively used. And also both continuous and discrete problems also, it will be used in this ant colony meta-heuristic approach. And particle swarm, again, the concept of think locally and act globally. So both local search and cognitive intelligence and as well as social intelligence, that plays a vital role. So that has been balanced very effectively in particle swarm optimization. The bird's behavior in flying, in finding the search of the food in a particular destination, that has been modeled in particle swarm optimization. So that has been very effectively used. And not much research on multi-objective particle swarm optimization. So somebody interested in this area, I am really very glad to support or help in developing multi-objective particle swarm optimization for real world problems. It can be a discrete type of problems, or it can be continuous problems or design optimization problems. So any type of problems, it is possible to develop some multi-objective PSO algorithm. Even though there are some methods people have developed, but it's not very effective in getting the Pareto optimal or non-dominated solutions. But still, there is lots of scope in developing multi-objective optimizations for a variety of problems, because there is not only one class of problem that is existing in the literature. There are plenty of classes. So each classes, so when it is possible to develop, as each research can different by working in different areas. So that way, this PSO is very, very popular nowadays. So those who are working, those who want to pursue their research, I think multi-objective particle swarm optimization. So that is one of the promising area for the researchers. And the difficulty in meta-heuristics is how to choose the parameters. So whenever we develop a mathematical model of a physical problem, so it involves, there are parameters. For convergence, we have to use the parameters. For example, when we see a GA, for example, the crossover is there, mutation is there, crossover probability is there, mutation probability is there. What is the value that we have to choose? So again, people are, by trial and error, people are using, and by trial and error only, they are getting the convergence to the problem. So this is one of the major issue. Again, people are working in heuristics. They can think of developing a parameter-free heuristic. So parameter-free in the sense you have to use the algorithms. You need not bother about the parameters. So it has to fine-tune by itself, and then it has to give the best solution for your problem. Some attempts have made by Clerc, one French researcher, parameter-free GA, parameter-free PSO. He is developing some papers recently. I have seen that some attempts people are making, but still, again, problem specific only. He might have used for some specific problems, but what about other problems? So again, we have to do a parameter-free procedure we have to develop. So that way, I think these parameters optimization also, that is one of the very promising area there the researchers can work. And as a summary, I have made some summary. The traditional algorithms are mostly local search and cannot guarantee the global optimality except linear programming and convex optimization, which is having one mode. Results are often depends on initial starting solution. This also we know. Most of the gradient based approaches, starting point we have to give, based on that only the convergence will be. Methods are problem specific, that is also branch and bound, like that many methods are problem specific only. So when highly non-linearity is there in the optimal problems, so difficult to handle by using conventional techniques. And when there is a discontinuity, so it's a continuous function, well-defined continuous function, if you are writing your optimization problem, it is not an issue. You can get a nice solution to the problem. When it is a discrete problem, so what to do? You cannot take a derivative information. Then we have to go for other techniques like meta heuristics or discrete type of optimizations we have to do. And the other part, almost all nature-inspired meta heuristics, what I mentioned, nature-inspired in the sense GA is a nature-inspired. It is inherited from natural genetics process. Ant colony, it is a nature-inspired technique because it is inspired from ant behavior. TSO is inherited from the flying of birds. So these type of algorithms are able to find a good quality solutions. That is what research also says. Increase the probability of finding global optimality. So as a global search tool, it can be developed in further. We cannot say it's a global optimal technique. It is only an error optimal technique, but there is a scope to develop these techniques as a global optimal techniques. And these techniques solve wider variety of problems. It is not a specific type of problems. So all these techniques, what I have told, GA, PSO, ant colony, these type of techniques, any type of problems, discrete or continuous, it can be used, but simple some modification. So highly nonlinear problems, problem with discontinuity, NP-hard combinatorial. So these meta heuristics are the solutions, no other go. So these meta heuristics only, it is really helpful in finding the solution to the problem. So the reason is it is derived from the nature. So that's why we were able to get the good quality solution to the problem. So these are all my references to the presentation. These are all very good books on optimization. Some of you are teaching optimization. I think all of you know that these books, it is very helpful. And also you can see that most of the authors are from Indians. Kalyanmai Deb or S.S. Rao or Arora. They have studied here and settled abroad and done lots of work in optimization area. But there are many other researchers also working in optimization. But Indians are leading the way in the optimization arena. So that's all my presentation is. And any questions or any